Hello nerds, welcome to the news. The year is starting to wind to an end, though it's a weird wind this year. Not the same weird as last year, definitely not the same as the weird the years previous, but a new kind of weird. This week we still have some news to discuss, and we're going to start things off in music. There is an update on the Slipknot versus Joey Jordison situation. In gaming and tech, we see a classic Capcom game finally getting updated to the current generation. Comic books and books is going to be short but highly impactful to the industry. TV news brings a nerd classic series to YouTube for absolutely free. We have movies section is we are seeing a renowned actor come out of retirement for a very specific movie. And then the rumor mill brings it on home. We have a pair of Secret Wars rumors that we have to get to. And honestly, I've been waiting for them to come out at this point. So I'm going to talk about that and a fair bit more. So let's get into it. Music this week, we have a bunch of drama and controversy. Slipknot and Joey Jordison's estate have finally concluded their legal battle. Oasis is vowing to not use dynamic pricing for their North American tour. And controversy, first day with the new lips, I'm sorry. Controversy at the Shell Shock Festival around a band pulling out for a very divisive reason. We'll just say that. There's that and quite a bit more, so let's get into it. Okay, so follow-ups and corrections is where we're going to hit our first big piece. In music, we're just coming out swinging this week, guys. Excuse me. The follow-up that we have this week is the Slipknot versus Joey Jordison situation. So the TLDR, when Joey Jordison was removed from the band rather unceremoniously, there was legal issues that went down where Joey basically took all of his things and left. It wasn't, this is my football and you guys won't play with me, so I'm going home with it. It wasn't that. It was the things that were Joey's and were kind of band property, but since he no longer had stake in the band, he was bought out of his ownership stake, and in so doing they were supposed to give him all of his things back. Well, it would seem that they did not give him everything back, which is the basis for this current lawsuit, and that's kind of the real quick bits. We have now come to a conclusion with this lawsuit, the exact terms of which have not been made public, so your guess is as good as mine. If both sides got what they wanted, probably not, because that is the way of the legal system really anymore. But the Joey Jordison estate, where did it go, has officially, what is the words? They have filed a notice of unconditional settlement with the LA County Superior Court. So unconditional settlement meaning that there's no further conditions. Everything has concluded. So yeah, that is kind of the end of it. If the details of this ever come out, we'll be talking about it, but that seems to be the end of this story. So let's move into new music this week, shall we? It's another sizable new music subsection. First up on the list, we have a new track from Marilyn Manson called Sacrilegious. Another new track from his now announced record, One Assassination Under God, is going to be out very soon. This is starting to sound like old school Manson again, and I super dig it. For a while, there were weird things going on with his mixes, and he was doing these experimental excursions into other genres, and not that any of that was bad, it just wasn't as good as basically everything that led up to Golden Age of Grotesque, which Golden Age is my favorite Manson record. So this is sounding more like stuff from Mechanical Animals, maybe even Smells Like Children, maybe not quite that much, but definitely sounds a lot like it could be from the Mechanical Animals era of his career, and that is probably prime Manson. So nothing will ever be Antichrist. Don't get me wrong, but this is really good. So go check out Sacrilegious from Marilyn Manson. And when the record comes out, One Assassination Under God, go check that out too. Next up, we have from Tim Pool. That's right, podcaster and centrist, but apparently also crazy right-winger. Tim Pool has put out another track. It is called Coming Home. This is the lyrical content of this song is trying to be Rooster for millennials. The Alice in Chains song Rooster, that's what this is trying to be. And I feel like in slightly more capable hands, it absolutely would have been. But I'm not saying this is a bad track. I'm just saying that Tim being the vocalist on most of these tracks, he seems uncertain of his ability as a vocalist, and that shows through in the recording. When we kick over to the Phil Labonte verse at the end, like that sounds a lot more confident and a lot more surefire. That Phil's been doing this for decades at this point. So of course Phil is going to be the better frontman / vocalist, but maybe Tim needs to take notes or something, because it just felt like it was really trying to be a little bit too big for its britches. And it's gonna sell records. I'm not saying that I'm not saying it's a bad track. I'm just saying it's got a lot of room for improvement. So this is moderate recommend. Go check out Tim Pool's new song, Coming Home. Our next one is from a band we've actually talked about once or twice before. It's a band called As in Hell. The name of the track is Impi Aura. And if this sounds familiar to you, it's because Rob Paulson from Volbeat, this is his death metal band, and these guys are doing death metal, I think, one of the right ways. There's no one absolute right way to do any genre of music, but As in Hell has a pretty good playbook up their sleeve for how to do death metal. You've got really groovy, deathy, kind of crunchy guitar tones. You've got bass tone for days. I am super digging that bass tone. Just the right amount of overdrive on that bad boy. And the drums are and the drums in any death metal project is kind of the unsung hero of keeping all of the chaos together. And the drummer for As in Hell is absolutely nailing that. This track is a prime example of some quality death metal. You should go check out Impi Aura. Maybe it's Impi Hora. I don't know. I don't speak Latin. But let's move on. Next, let's get into, the new Die Antwoord. Die Antwoord is not retiring, apparently. They said they were retired and they were not going to do music anymore, and now they're back with a new record and they're on tour. So, yeah, so much for that. And the name of the new track is Pokemon, and the more I hear from this new record, the more it sounds like a little bit generic EDM, and a lot less like whatever the hell they were doing before, which was unequivocally their sound. And now they have kind of evolved, which I'm not opposed to evolution as an artist, but this evolution seems to have gone more in a generic direction rather than in a more unique direction. So still super good. The production on this stuff is always incredible. So for no other reason, go check it out for that. But if you really dig Die Antwoord's older stuff, this is going to take you a little bit by surprise. It's not going to be bad. This is absolutely a recommend, but it's a different recommend, I guess is the way to put that. And then a band I haven't heard from for a little while is a band called Caliban. They just put out a new track called Echoes. This is kind of exactly what I expected out of Caliban. They have not evolved in years at this point, in a few records. I believe the last time I listened to them with any sort of regularity was like 2003, 2004. So it's been 20 years and they sound basically the same. It's a mild recommend. If you're a metalcore like stalwart, if that is just the genre for you, you're gonna love this. If you haven't really dabbled in metalcore, or you kind of don't like metalcore because you like more extreme versions of music or less extreme genres of music, then this is really not going to change your mind. This is probably the most mediocre metalcore you can hear. So yeah, very weak recommend for Caliban's new Echoes. Speaking of strange recommendations, let's talk about the new Cure track. It is approximately 7 minutes long, and that's because the intro is approximately 3.5 of those 7 minutes. Wow! That was ridiculous. Come on, Robert. Like, let's get to the song. It's not 1987 anymore. You're not trying to just fill time on the dance floor. I don't even know what kind of clubs are still playing The Cure with any sort of regularity, so that can't be the motivation for half of the song being an intro. But once you finally get into the song, this is absolutely fantastic. This is what you want out of The Cure in 2024. Like, bar none. It's not the similar situation to the Caliban thing in that they have evolved. They have evolved in a logical way, so they still very much sound like themselves, but they're just more certain of where they want to go and what they want to do. So again, kind of removes them from the Caliban situation, but still very much what you want. Maybe not what you could predict from The Cure in 2024, but definitely what you want from The Cure in 2024. Just skip about 3 minutes deep and then you'll get the proper song experience. And then let's talk about Lady Gaga one more time, because apparently from time to time we get into her on this channel. Lady Gaga is putting out a new record called Harlequin that is a companion album to the Joker Folie à Deux movie. This track that we're talking about specifically is called The Joker, or just Joker. It's kind of uncertain because the text on the video says Joker, but the actual video itself says The Joker, so it's really weird. But yeah, I will preface anything I am about to say with I 100% believe that Lady Gaga is one of the most talented voices in pop music for like the last 20 years, bar none, without a doubt, absolutely no question there. This track, I don't know about the rest of the Harley Quinn record, but this track, really bland, like really bland. From the muddy production to, which the production thing might be on purpose, but I feel like this is almost Lady Gaga by way of Lana Del Rey, and she is, in my mind at least, so many leagues above Lana Del Rey's abilities. Like, why would you go in that direction? It just doesn't make sense. Maybe it would make sense in context with the rest of the record. Maybe it'll make sense after I see the new Joker movie. I don't know, but as a standalone song, very subpar on the terms of pop music, just kind of in general, but definitely in Lady Gaga's oeuvre, this is not her best work. So, tours and festivals is where we're going next, because that's all the new music we got. Tours and festivals, we have the first big one for tours and festivals is Oasis. They have announced their, I think it was like 6 North American dates. I could not find a link to tickets, so if you just go to their website, then I'm sure you can find a link to tickets there, but I couldn't source one outside of that, so go check that out. But something that is worth note, they have vowed to not use Ticketmaster's dynamic pricing option. So the prices will go on sale and they will remain at the sale price regardless of demand. And once they're on sale, I'm sure you'll have 10 seconds before they're sold out, because again, there's only 6. Oh, is it less than 6? 5 tour dates in North America. We have August 24th, 26th, and 28th. August 24th, 28th, and 31st, and then September 6th and 12th in 2025. They are going to be on tour with Cage the Elephant for these 5 dates. Yeah, not using the dynamic pricing so they can avoid the debacle that happened when they announced their UK leg of this tour. That's significant. I feel like a lot more bands need to be aware of what that dynamic pricing thing means, because it's from some of the things that Oasis has said in public since that happened in the UK. It sounds like they were sold dynamic pricing as one thing, but in practice it is something else entirely. So I really think that this is just some underhanded ticketing situation where they're really not being fully honest with the artists that they're trying to sell tickets for as well. So yeah, that's significant. Next on the tours and festivals, we have the Milwaukee Metal Fest for 2025 has been announced. You can find find link to the full lineup in the description. The dates are May 16th through May 18th. Some noteworthy bands on this bill are Down, Dillinger Escape Plan, Exodus, Speed, that's right, the flute hardcore dudes from Australia, and Necrogoblicon, all on this bill for 2025. So that's pretty freaking awesome. Milwaukee Metal Fest is usually a show to go see for sure if you're into the heavy stuff. And then our final piece of tour news has to do with Kerry King. Kerry King has announced they are going, his solo band is going on tour for the first time as the headliners. They are coming with support from Municipal Waste and Alien Weaponry. The tour launches in San Francisco on January 15th of 2025 and runs through February 22nd of 25 in Las Vegas. So if you want tickets, you can find a link down in the description. The pre-sale should be open now. As I'm recording this, I could not get an active link, but as you are watching this, the active link should be up. So I'll try and replace the link to the page and get it just to the link to the tickets. But if that doesn't happen, you might have to click a couple times to get Kerry King tickets. That is what we have for tours and festivals. Let's now get into the regular ass news. And this week in regular old news, we've got a bit of controversy to kick off the subsection. Speaking of festivals, the Shell Shock Festival, which is a festival that is put together to support wounded soldiers, wounded American soldiers. The band Evergreen Terrace has pulled out of the festival. They were set to perform and they have pulled out after the announcement. This is the key thing here. The big divisive end is the reason they pulled out is Shell Shock announced that Kyle Rittenhouse was going to be a guest speaker at the festival, which is a weird thing to say because it is a music festival. So what does an attempted political figure have to do with music? Granted, again, the festival is put together for the CAT2 Foundation, which is run by First Responders Coffee and Cigars. It's first responders, they basically take care of wounded and injured first responders. So I guess it kind of makes sense because it is a pro-gun organization. Kyle Rittenhouse is now a pro-gun speaker, if you will. He's kind of the Gen Z, Gen Alpha, maybe even. I forget how young he is. But the Gen Z, at the very least, Gen Z face of gun, what is the word I'm looking for? Of gun control? That's not right. Gun rights, that's what I'm looking for. There we go. So, very interesting. Apparently, according to the band, they released some very full virtue signal kind of announcement on their Instagram page. But according to the band, they were kind of pressured from their fan base to do this because people, and they still say that Kyle Rittenhouse is a murderer, and it's like, did you pay attention to the court case? Because it was all over the news, and did you see any of the footage in which what Kyle Rittenhouse did was shown? Because by definition, not what he is. He is not a murderer in any respect of the word. He did not, when he did what he did, it was in effort to save his own life. The big argument is he shouldn't have been there with a gun. We're not going to get into the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff, but like, you're going to a protest in Wisconsin, like, it's a pretty liberal area, and you're going to not bring a gun if you have the opportunity. All right, anyway, so the exact words of Evergreen Terrorist is that they would not align themselves with an event promoting a quote-unquote perceived murderer. So they're not even accusing him of being a murderer. They're saying other people are accusing this guy of being a murderer, so we can't be associated with anything that uses him. Like, that is just an insane thing to say, I think. But I mean, I like Evergreen Terrace. I think they make good music, but wow, is it going to be a little bit harder to listen to them going forward. But that's just what we got. So yeah, Evergreen Terrace pulling out of Shell Shock Festival. Let's move on. Next up on the list, we have a really interesting piece from Nita Strauss. So for those of you who maybe don't know, Nita Strauss is the guitar player for Alice Cooper. She also has a pretty extenuous solo career, and she puts out records of her own from time to time, every few years or so, and she is currently working on a brand new record. That is not necessarily news. That was already known. The interesting thing about this is, for every record, she brings in guest vocalists. And like on the last one, she had Christina White Glutz, and there was one with David Draymond, and just always high profile vocalist. It's really cool stuff. This time around, she has made it known that she wants to work with Alex Terrible from Slaughter to Prevail. So that is just a weird clashing of worlds that I think I really want to hear. Nita Strauss doing some quasi-classical, neoclassical thrash, shred, with Alex Terrible, one of the foremost deathcore vocalists out right now. Like, how does that go together and make something that is going to be listenable? I'm really intrigued by the thought, and that's why I just wanted to put that one out there. It was recently it wasn't an interview, there was like people there. I can't remember what exactly the event was, but it was at an event where she was in front of a crowd of people who were allowed to ask her questions, and she said that they're on the same record. They're both on Nuclear Blast. Her solo stuff comes out on Nuclear Blast, and that's who distributes the Slaughter to Prevail stuff. So it is absolutely possible that that could happen, and I'm definitely here for it. So let's hope that does. From there, this is a really random but also pretty dang cool. It was recently turned on to a new site called The Pudding, I believe. Just Pudding, sorry, not The Pudding, but Pudding. Pudding.cool is the website, and they do, it looks like approximately one research piece every month. And the thing that turned me on, the reason this is in the music section, is the thing that turned me on to this website is somebody showed me a study that they did into the vocabulary of modern rap, well, of rappers in general. And they kind of compared that vocabulary to Shakespeare and to Herman Melville, and just kind of how the vocabularies stack up. And it's incredible. It's super, super interesting where Shakespeare lies on this chart versus where like the Wu-Tang, almost the entirety of the Wu is more verbose than Shakespeare, which is so weird to me, but also incredibly cool. Incredibly cool. Like, how freaking awesome. And then Aesop Rock is the most verbose person that they studied at all, which is also kind of incredible that he was more verbose than the Wu, because they're kind of like, the reason why they're so huge is because their ability to be wordsmiths is second to none. Well, now second to Aesop Rock, apparently. So yeah, just a really cool thing. You can find the link in the description that will take you to that study, and then go check out, just go play around on Pudding, man, because it's a really cool, they have a comic book representation study that was incredibly intriguing as one of the things that derailed the research for today's episode, which is why we recorded and uploaded late. So yeah, go check out Pudding. It's pretty cool. Let's move on. Our final piece for music this week, for the regular S news at least, for music, has to do with the charismatic voice it's a YouTube channel. It's run by, what's her name, Elizabeth. I don't know her last name because that's irrelevant, but she is sponsoring a new study of the voice, which, you know, wouldn't normally be noteworthy, except that this study is the first study that is studying vocal production, the singing and stuff of extreme music vocalists. So if you're at least even kind of into this kind of stuff, then you've probably seen the video of Will Ramos putting the camera up his nose so that they can look down his throat when he makes the noises that he makes on stage or when he's doing music. And the throat specialist, or the vocology, I think is what they call themselves, the vocology specialist, saw the things that his throat was doing and said, I didn't even know that was possible, which was kind of the genesis, the beginning thought of a study into how extreme metal vocal or extreme music vocalists produce those extreme sounds. And so they did a proper study on Will. I have not seen this video because I was only made aware of it in the last 2 days or so I haven't had the time, but there's another video where they go in and do a proper study on the mechanics of everything going on inside Will's throat and his larynx and just up into his mouth, and how incredibly unique that is to someone who makes those noises. So that was a study unto himself, but that's a very small sample size compared to the very broad genre of extreme music, like the broad net that casts over that genre. Will's just one dude. There's hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of people who do extreme music, extreme vocals, and everyone kind of does their own little thing, and it's still very much not known what the mechanics of those noises are. So they now have 7 new vocalists coming on, 7 very well-known vocalists. Tatiana, I'm not going to remember all of them. They're definitely not in the notes. Tatiana, though, from Ginger, and that's the only one I can think of right now. What the hell is that? Oh, and then what's his name from Whitechapel, who is one that I'm super intrigued to see what's going on. And they're going to do a number of tests. Each vocalist is going to have to be put up for approximately 3 days near the University of Utah, where they're doing the study, and there is a Kickstarter. They have already met their minimum goal, but that minimum goal is only to ensure that the bare minimum amount of information will exist. I'll try and also include the link with Tank the Tech, where Elizabeth talks about the Kickstarter, where the more money they make effectively through the Kickstarter, the more money they make, the more they're going to be able to study new vocalists. And the next vocalist, if they can get up to another tier on their chart or whatever, the next vocalist on the list to join the 7 is Devin freaking Townsend. So that kind of gives you an idea of the caliber of people that want to be part of this study. And so I'm going to highly recommend anyone with the ability to join in the Kickstarter. There's obviously going to be a lot of kickbacks for anyone who throws some money into it. You're going to get some bonus content for yourself, but really you're contributing to the understanding of this music, this art form that has existed for so long, and we just kind of don't fully comprehend how it's done. Like, even the people who do it oftentimes don't know how they make the noises they make. They just say, I just do it. That's just, there's no thinking. So yeah, really, really incredibly interesting. You can find the link down in the description that I know is the Kickstarter link, but I, again, will also try and find the link to the interview between Tank the Tech and Elizabeth from The Charismatic Voice. So that's what we got for regular ass news. That leaves our suggestion for the week. We are in spooky season, so we're gonna go to something that I've suggested a couple of times at this point, and that is Mushroomhead's XX record. Preferably, I would check out the Eclipse release of the XX record. That is by far the better mixed version, but if you find the universal release of it as well, if you can only find that one, then that's fine. There are 3 extra songs on that version. It's just the audio mixing is definitely subpar when compared to the Eclipse release. Either way, this record is absolutely a standout record of the masked metal kind of sub-genre. Not that you can really pigeonhole Mushroomhead, especially at the time they put this record out, into one subgenre. There's industrial, there's death metal, there's black metal, there's nu metal, there's straight thrash on there. There's just all kinds of different, very varied, I guess you could say, amounts of music on this record. It is effectively a best of record. It is, though, the first time that they were mass released across the country. So check out XX if you dig that stuff. I would say go backwards before you go forwards. Super Buick, M3, etc. Those are fantastic records, but that's what XX comes from, is that older stuff. Everything after that is going to be completely different and a whole different story. So XX is your suggestion this week from Mushroomhead. Gaming this week is full of good news, actually. Well, mostly. first up, we have Silent Hill Townfall. We got an update for that after 2 years of nothing, and it's not exactly what we were thinking, but it's not bad news. A classic Capcom game is finally getting updated to the current and technically previous generation. This is a long time coming at this point. We also have PlayStation 5 owners, this is the bad part, we have PlayStation 5 owners not happy at all with the most recent dashboard update. Got that in a little bit more, so here we go. Follow-ups and corrections, gaming and tech. Let's go. Silent Hill Townfall. We have a big follow-up here because of the current issues going on with Annapurna, which may or may not exist in the near future. It has been made known from Annapurna through a post on their X account that the future of the game, Silent Hill Townfall, is not directly tied into the future of the production company. They will, at the very least, be finishing this game with the help of Konami and No Code there to kind of catch the pieces as they fall. But the big part here is Annapurna is going to finish the Townfall game. And then if they are still a company after that, that's the big question. So they wanted to assure everyone, again, they have the confirmation from Konami and No Code that they will be picking up pieces as well. That's already been the situation, so nothing is changing, and that is good news at this point. As far as what the hell is gonna happen in Townfall, still very much a mystery. But we do know we are going to be seeing Townfall probably in 2026 is the speculation at this point, but that is strictly speculation. So let's continue on into some trailers, or a trailer at the very least. We have Mario and Luigi Brotherhood, the new Switch game, the new platformer for the Switch, has just dropped a full and proper trailer that shows off, you got Peach, you got Bowser Jr. in this bad boy, and that kind of implies that they're not going to be the big bad in this. And also the Concordia situation is still a big mystery that will apparently be solved sometime around November 7th, because that's when the game launches. Go check out the trailer though. If you haven't already been hyped for this game and you're a Switch player or a Nintendo appreciator at the very least, this will definitely get you pretty hyped for it. So go check it out. From there, we have some regular ass news to get to. This is the big piece. You ready for this? Are you ready, Capcom fans? Are you ready, Resident Evil fans? Oh, that's a clue. It's not Resident Evil, but it is Dino Crisis. Dino Crisis is finally going to find its way onto the current generation of console. Current and previous. It's going to be PS5 and PS4. So whatever the hell they're doing that emulates back and forth between them, or however similar the architecture is that you can do that, that happens. So if you have a PS4, you will not be missing out because you haven't yet upgraded to the current generation. But we have word officially from PlayStation, as confirmed by Capcom, that Dino Crisis will be on current generation consoles. Still don't know exactly if it's going to be just a rework or a reboot or what the hell's going on, but Dino Crisis will be on current generation console, quote, at some point before the end of the year. So this year, before December 31st, we will be seeing Dino Crisis on the PS5. So there you go, nerds. Our other piece for regular ass news is probably the biggest bummer, well, third biggest bummer of the entire episode, and that has to do with the PlayStation 5. The most recent dashboard update for the console has brought you into the world of Microsoft, apparently, because Xbox gamers have been dealing with this for 2 generations at this point. I'm pretty sure the Xbox One did the same stuff on their background. What ads? PlayStation 5 now has ads on the home screen, which up until recently was a broken ad algorithm altogether. Apparently they were using the most recent post from certain publishers, their most recent post on the social element that feeds into the dashboard or something like that. It wasn't anything like that. It was, I'm not a PlayStation guy, so I don't know exactly how this works, but the community posts that companies can do talking about their games on the Xbox, in the what is the tab? In the store, there's a tab you can join. You can go to the community for each individual game, and the game's developer oftentimes will have a feed of like information or images that people have submitted, or just images that they've taken to promote the next update, or so on and so forth. Something similar in the Sony side of things, it sounds like, and something that a lot of developers aren't really on top of maintaining, because some of the ads that were running up until about 3 days ago, which the update only happened last week, so it was a few days worth of this happening. Like the Spider-Man Across the Universe ad was coming soon to theaters when it came out in 2023. So yeah, it was definitely a little janky, but there's ads. You now have ads on the PlayStation 5, and you're not going to get rid of them no matter how much you cry about it, because Xbox players have been crying about it since the last generation of consoles, and it's still there. It's just the current generation. This is modern gaming. This is another drawback to modern gaming, because things are so expensive anymore. They got to find extra revenue sources, and if they can't put ads in the actual games, they're going to put ads around the actual games. So I don't know. There's no two ways about it. That's just how it's going to be, and that's what we got on that one. So that brings us to our suggestion this week, and if you didn't guess what the suggestion was for gaming this week, then you haven't been paying attention, nerds. Mortal Kombat 1 Chaos Reigns has dropped, and I have literally played nothing else. Still really trying to work out how the hell Noob Saibot works, because I can only regularly land I have a bread and butter of about 25%. My bread and butter with Scorpion is about 40%. So there's a pretty big gap there. I'm getting a little bit better with them, but that's kind of neither here nor there. This is where the game should have launched. Maybe not with the DLC already out, obviously, but like as far as the mechanics go and as far as like the balance goes for this game, this is exactly how the game should have launched. And I very much agree with the MK Tom Brady about the meta pre-Chaos Reigns and the new meta post-Chaos Reigns. How pre-Chaos Reigns it was poke, grab, duck, down one, poke, grab. Yeah, that was super boring, and honestly, being somebody who plays almost exclusively Combat League, it was very frustrating when you just want to have fun playing your damn games. Now, though, with the addition of only 3 new characters, like, the meta has changed dramatically. So absolutely, that is your recommendation for gaming going forward. I will try and get something else under my belt before we end the season, but ooh, I got no promises there, nerds. No promises. That's what we got though, so let's move right along.
Why do I get the impression you forgot to push the subscribe button? I mean, it's free, so go ahead and do that, and yeah, okay, thanks. Yeah, thanks. We'll get back to the show now. Okay, bye.
Comic books and books this week is just comic books, but it's legal comic books. It's not exactly as dry as you're thinking. DC and Marvel both have lost a trademark that they owned together that will absolutely change the rest of the industry. So let's talk about that. All right, so we are only talking about the one thing, and it's regular news in comic books and books this week. It is the trademark for the term superhero. So up until whenever this filed, last week, I believe, maybe it was a little bit beyond that, it was just reported in the last week, the US Trademark Office had the trademark licensed to both Marvel and DC. And then we got comic book writer Jay Richard, who is the creator of the Super Babies comic book series, filed a motion with the U.S. Trademark Office Tribunal in order to question the validity of their ability to own the trademark for the word, or the term rather, superhero. The argument was they can't own a trademark over an entire genre of storytelling. So the tribunal canceled the trademark. As of last week, it has officially been canceled. This, again, was jointly held by DC and Marvel. They had the exclusive ability to use the term superhero until last week. So this is going to be broadly sweeping throughout the entire industry. Independent comic books are going to be able to, books in general at this point, because I've definitely read some superhero fiction that was not actually, or that could not rather use the word superhero because it wasn't distributed by DC or Marvel. So yeah, that's really, really, really broadly sweeping. The really interesting thing about this too is S.J. Richard is a writer who is from England. He's from the UK. He's from London specifically. So he isn't even a US citizen as far as I understand, but he still is the one that filed the motion that canceled the trademark. That's pretty crazy. So what this is exactly going to do for other comic book publishers very much remains to be seen, but it's huge. Just the implications here are gigantic. So this is going to change independent and third-party comic books forever. And it's only a good thing, I think. So that's our one piece of news for comic books and books. We do have a suggestion this week for comic books, and again, we are in spooky season, so I feel like this is one that you should expect probably at least once every year. We're going to suggest it because it is one of the most classic comic books ever. One of those that everyone should read. It's a Batman book. It is Batman: The Long Halloween. While technically not exclusively a Halloween book, it's why it's the first one in the month of October, it is again named Halloween. It starts on Halloween and ends on Halloween. It is everything that happens in the course of that year. And I mean, what can you say about The Long Halloween that has not already been said? Aside from the fact that a lot of the things that happen, if not everything that happens in this book, maybe was going to happen even if Batman hadn't been involved, I think is one of the detracting arguments. So it's really interesting to read it once and then you go back with that knowledge and read it again and go, that's not entirely wrong. So yeah, either way, it's a fantastic book. Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale wrote a classic, came out in, when did it come out? 89? I don't have it in here, but whatever. You get a lot of origins for a lot of the rogues gallery for Batman. You get just some really fantastic Batman storytelling, even if, again, he's kind of a secondary character in his own book. It's still really good. Go read The Long Halloween. Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. That is your suggestion for comic books and books this week. This week in TV streaming, we have a few quick news bits. The Last of Us Season 2 has dropped a trailer. We have The Simpsons might be ending. That's maybe a little bit misleading. Plus, we have a modern classic series is now free to stream on YouTube. There are a couple of other little things to get to, so let's go. All right, so follow-ups, corrections. We have a follow-up, and it's not a great one. If you're a fan of the Chucky series over on Sci-Fi and USA Networks, it's coming to an end. Season 3 was the last season. They will not be returning for a 4th season, in spite of, as far as I am to understand, they wanted, I believe, somewhere between 4 and 6 seasons was the original hope that they would get. But 3 seasons in modern TV is kind of par for the course. So you can't necessarily be too mad unless you were a big fan, in which case you're probably pissed. So yeah, Chucky is not returning. Sad for horror fans the world over. Let's move into trailers. Speaking of horror, we have The Last of Us has dropped a season 2 trailer finally. And we see that there is a strong possibility we are actually going to get this story told from 2 different viewpoints, much like we got the second game story told from 2 different viewpoints. So very much remains to be seen, though, if they're going to stick very closely to the story of the second game, because there was, let's just say, a rather subversive element of the story fairly early on that will, if for people who have never played the game before, who don't know what's coming, if they do that in this series, I smell a revolt almost, because kind of like The Walking Dead with Daryl, the fan base for a certain character in The Last of Us is so huge that if they do that, it could be very, very bad for the franchise, but also it would be really good for the franchise because they're sticking to the original property. So like 6 one way, half a dozen the next, I think. But yeah, go check out the trailer. It looks pretty cool. Mostly cool. Let's move. Our next one is another franchise we talked about a couple of times at this point now. It's the Secret Level anthology series over on Amazon Prime. They dropped a trailer specific for the Unreal Tournament stuff. Now, going off of what we know about the Secret Level anthology, this is going to be, each episode is going to be tied into a different franchise. And if what I'm seeing is true, I didn't know this much about the Unreal Tournament mythology. I didn't even know there really was a mythology. I just, thought it was really cool looking stuff that you got to blow up and shoot at and kill your opponents. Like, it was one of the OG FPS online experiences, and that was my only frame of reference. So it's really cool to see if this is the story from the original mythology, to see the story from the original mythology. Otherwise, it's an interesting mythology that they've made up. I don't know. Somebody in the comments, please let me know if this is, how close to the original this is. That's all we got for trailers. Let's talk about some regular ass news. First on the list for regular ass news is The Simpsons. So season 36 premiered this past week. And if you are anything like me and you haven't really watched The Simpsons for a few years, but you happened to have caught it somehow in passing, you were very, very confused, because at the bottom right hand of the screen, in the bottom right hand corner, was a series finale logo. They were saying series finale for the first episode of season 36. The fact that this has been going for 36 years is insane to me, by the way. Anyway, yeah, season 36, the series, or the season opener, was the series finale. Not really. The name of the episode was series finale. It was kind of Bart going through all of the things basically that have happened for the last 36 years, and what if these things progressed naturally. Bart was turning 11 years old. Like, wow, he's been 10 years old for 36 years. Just crazy things like that. Burns actually dies. We have a lot of random ass things, and kind of spoilers, I guess, but it's the opening to season 36. Now, the reason I introed this the way I did, though, is because in spite of that being the season opener, they have not been picked up for a season 37. So season 36 at this point possibly is the last season for The Simpsons. Now, how likely is it that they're not going to get picked up? Very unlikely. After 36 years of being in the pop culture eye, like just the basis for a lot of things in pop culture, like if Disney doesn't renew them somehow, even if it's not on terrestrial television, if they don't at least put them on Hulu or something to that effect, I feel like they're absolutely shooting themselves in the foot. Yes, I understand that the viewership for The Simpsons has been down for a number of years at this point. Simple fix to that is get better writers. But I mean, I personally believe there's no way in hell they will not get a season 37. Unless some act of God happens, that's very likely to be the case. That's what we got on that one. Let's move over to a new series on Peacock called Hysteria. I don't believe there is a proper trailer for it. Yes, there actually is a trailer for it. So I don't know why I didn't put this in trailers, but new series, Hysteria. The reason this is significant is it is a satanic panic, kind of revisiting the idea of the satanic panic. It's a throwback series starring none other than Bruce freaking Campbell, the one and only. That's right, Bruce Campbell is going to be a teacher, and the series is going to revolve around a group of high school students who start a metal band, capitalizing on satanic panic in their small town. So the story we've heard probably a million times before at this point, but I don't know that we've ever really properly gotten it in a series of television. So it'll be interesting to see that idea stretched out over the course of approximately 8 to 10 hours. I'm game. I'm here for it. I want to see what it does. Again, this is coming out on Peacock. It will also be airing on the Sci-Fi and USA networks. I believe it's Peacock first and then Sci-Fi and USA after the fact. So that is what we got on that one. Like I said, TV is going to be a bunch of kind of quickies. Next up, we have a new RoboCop series has been announced. New series produced by James Wan for MGM Studios. So if it's going to MGM Plus or Amazon, or sometimes we get stuff on Netflix from this studio, that has not been made known just yet. We do know, again, James Wan. We also know Peter Ocko is going to be the showrunner. He's also going to be co-producing it with James Wan. That's really all we've got on it. It's going to be a retelling, once again, rebooting the franchise, if you will, but retelling of the story from the first movie in this first season. This one season probably for RoboCop. So interesting to see how that pans out, but that's the only details we have so far, so let's move on. Speaking of streamers though, Max has struck up a new deal with an anime streaming service from Japan. Unext is the name of one of the biggest streaming services in Japan that does anime, and Max has just struck a deal with them to distribute all of their anime titles on their platform in the US. So this is kind of Max trying to do the thing that Netflix did about a year and a half ago and broaden their horizons into other audiences, trying to get a larger audience hold. It's not the word I'm looking for, but it's going to suffice. So we can definitely expect more anime to be coming to Max. I believe they still have their contract with Crunchyroll, so this is very potentially going to be the biggest mainstream anime distributor in the US, Max is. So that's pretty freaking huge. I don't know specifically the numbers just yet. I think those all remain to be reported because they want to see how the rollout happens. But we're going to be keeping tabs on this one because this is an interesting kind of pivot point for Max to broaden their audience numbers. And then we have, I think this is the last piece for regular ass news in TV streaming this week, and it is Vox Machina has made the first 2 complete seasons available for free on their YouTube channel. So season 3 is going to be happening. It's rolling out on Prime. It's not the Vox Machina YouTube channel, it's actually the Amazon Prime YouTube channel. But yeah, season 3 will be happening this fall on Prime, and in preparation for that, they have uploaded all the episodes for seasons 1 and 2 for free to view on YouTube. So if you have not caught up, if you've only been listening to Critical Role, because Vox Machina is the animated version of Critical Role, effectively. I mean, it's not one for one, but it's the same people involved in both things. So yeah, if you have not watched Vox Machina because it's behind a paywall that you don't have access to, now you have access to it. So that's pretty freaking cool. That's our big story for TV streaming this week, I feel like. That's everything in the regular ass news. Let's talk now about your suggestion this week. We're going to get into this in the That Just Happened episode for this week, but The Penguin Happened. Episodes 1 and 2 are now available. And if you're not watching this, you are absolutely missing out on some of the best TV on right now. Your suggestion this week is Penguin Episode 1. However, you have to get your nerdy hands on it, by all means do, because it is not just for comic book nerds. If you are a cinema nerd, there is a lot to break down in the way this is shot. If you are an acting nerd, then Colin Farrell is putting on a masterclass, because if you did not know that was Colin Farrell inside the makeup for Penguin, then you will not know that that is Colin Farrell. There is nothing of that guy inside that character. It is strictly the character, and it is incredible, an incredible transformation. If you stick around to the end of the episode and you watch the behind the scenes bits that they've been doing with a lot of the Max stuff, and you see Colin Farrell as Colin Farrell and talking about this character, it's like he's studying somebody else's work, because it doesn't even look the same, doesn't sound the same, nothing. It's amazing. Amazing. The writing, maybe that's probably the weakest link. There's definitely a lot of transparency. They kind of signal things from far away. You know it's going to be coming, but the execution of those things as you know they're going to happen is still one of the best Mafia, one of the best comic book things on right now. So go watch The Penguin. That is 100% your suggestion this week. All right, nerds, real quick, let's take a break. Let's talk energy, and not just any energy, Dubby Energy, channel partner, and it's my go-to for any time I don't want to get that sketchy sugar crash. So here's the deal. They have spent a lot of time fine-tuning their formula, packing it full of vitamins and nootropics and things that are meant to help with cognitive performance. And the star player in all of that is a thing they like to call the neurofactor. And neurofactor is a patented cocktail of ingredients, specifically using the caffeine derived from coffee cherries, and is clinically proven to help improve brain performance. I swear this stuff helps you stay laser focused, whether you're gaming or creating or grinding away on a project or just at the daily grind at your day job. Another thing that really sets W apart is the other ingredients. Besides just the neurofactor, you have the sugar-free, 0 calories, no maltodextrin, and no artificial colors. All of that with 0 jitters and no crash, just smooth energy. And then just the icing on the cake is that W is affordable as well. One 8-ounce serving, assuming you're using the promo code Generally Nerdy when you check out at w.gg, one 8-ounce serving is gonna cost you right about $1.20. Which means a full 16-ounce serving, which most of you are probably going to mix together, which is easily mixed in their shaker bottles, which are also available at w.gg. A 16-ounce portion is going to cost you right about $2.40. Now compare that to $4 from the other guys, and you see that you're saving money on top of helping with your focus and your brain function. If you want to give it a try, just use the promo code Generally Nerdy at checkout. You can follow the link down in the description. We are back down to 10%. All through September, we were getting 20%, but now that it is October, we're down to 10% off, which is you're still doing $1.20 per serving. So 10% off at checkout if you use code Generally Nerdy at w.gg. All of that being said, let's get back to the show, shall we? Honestly, this week movies is a little bit weird, I'm not gonna lie, but we have Hellboy. The new Hellboy movie is missing its release date, or missed its release date rather. We have 2 pretty epic passings in the movie world, sad to say, and then we have a rather enigmatic actor is coming out of retirement for a very specific movie. And there's a couple other things in the cracks there too, so we're gonna talk about all of this. Let's go. Okay, follow-ups and corrections this week from movies. We got 2 of them. First up is Hellboy, the Crooked Man missed their release date. And I say that, and that's a little bit misleading, but that's effectively what happened. The release date for Crooked Man was September 27th. It did not hit theaters in the US on September 27th. It did hit theaters in the UK on September 27th, but it's not coming apparently to theaters in the US at all. And this was not previously, as far as I know, I did not see any previous announcement that it was not coming to theaters. We knew it was being made, we knew it was coming soon, and we actually got, in some of the promotional material, it said in theaters on September 27th. And September 27th came and passed and we got nothing. So apparently the new plan for this movie is October 8th. It will be on streaming, and that's the only distribution they're going to get in the States. I don't know exactly where this is going. I believe it's going to be on Max, but don't hold me to that because I did not see that in the official announcement, but I think that's where the last movie went, so I think that's where this one's going to. But I mean, rights are different for each movie, so I very much could be wrong. If I can find it, I'll try and put it on the screen or something, or down in the show notes, but either way, yeah, Crooked Man going straight to streaming in the States. Very, very strange. The next piece of follow-up we have also related to something that's the sequel. Not that Crooked Man was exactly a sequel, but Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2 now has a release date, actually is now available on Peacock as of yesterday that I'm filming this, so probably 2 days ago as you're watching. Yeah, so Blood and Honey 2 is available. If you have Peacock, you can go watch it. Blood and Honey 1 was worth a watch, and if for no other reason than for anthropological study, because like they legitimately made that movie for like $6 and a prayer. So the fact that it did so well and they actually have a budget for this movie, the 2 movies are going to be strangely connected. I feel like that should be something you know going into this. It's not going to be a direct sequel in that it's just going to pick up where the last movie left off. This movie, from my understanding, is going to be different in that it's going to treat the first movie as like a mythology or a story told in the world of the second movie. That way they can change the way the portrayal of Winnie the Pooh and all of the characters involved. So very interesting to see what's gonna come of this. I forgot this was happening, so probably going to be on my list of things for That Just Happened going forward this week, but you're going to have to tune in to that show to find out for sure. I mean, it's pretty safe bet. All right, so from there, that's what we got for follow-ups and corrections. Let's talk about a couple of trailers that dropped this week. We have Nosferatu dropping a full-length trailer that is absolutely freaking creepy. Release date is Christmas Day, so I 100% know what I'm doing on Christmas Day. If you have yet to watch it, please go watch it. I had my doubts when I saw the cast list before we got our first trailer. The first tease was like, all right, this looks like there's some promise. Now we have some actual footage and things going on. This is going to be an event, I think, for horror fans. So yeah, go check out the trailer. The other trailer we got, I thought this was going to be a series, so kind of took me by surprise a little bit that The Ballerina is a movie. Just my ADHD brain remembering pieces of information and not the entire information. But I do remember after watching the trailer, oh yeah, they did say moving from series to movie for whatever reason. And our first taste of The Ballerina looks like it definitely belongs in the world of John Wick, because that's where it's a spin-off from. And the trailer does a little bit, at least, to make you want to see the movie, so that the job that it's set forth to do. But I mean, if you're kind of whatever on the John Wick stuff, then the spin-off movie is probably not going to motivate you pretty hard anyway. It's kind of where I'm at with it. I love Keanu Reeves and all, but I don't know, John Wick just doesn't do a whole lot for me. That's what we got for trailers. Let's talk about some regular ass news, and we got to start with count them, two really crappy stories, because they both have to do with deaths this last week. Two big nerdy deaths over the course of last week. First one being Chris Christopherson. You will very probably know Chris Christopherson as Whistler from the Blade franchise, also a country music legend, and has been in a million other movies. Just kind of crazy that one of the highwaymen is gone. The only highwayman left is Willie Nelson. So like, oof. And Willie's getting up there in age now too. But yeah, Chris Christopherson passed away at the age of 88. No cause of death has yet been released, but he did pass in, I believe he was in the hospital. No, I think that was the next passing. But either way, yeah, Christopherson, we're going to take a moment and remember Chris Christopherson and just the fantastic contributions to the world of music, to the world of movies, to just nerddom in general. Even though I'm sure he wouldn't have really appreciated the title, he is kind of a nerd legend. So take a moment for Chris Christopherson.
Catch you fuckers at a bad time?
You've been listening in the whole time?
Keeping radio contact.
Think I'd let him run loose without a chaperone? Crash time 2, open this!
And then, like I said, we got two passings this week. The second one was Maggie Smith. I think I might be doing these in reverse order, like chronological order. I think Maggie might have passed first and Chris Christopherson second, but either way, they both have passed. And Maggie Smith, if you don't know Miss McGonagall from the Harry Potter franchise, she was also in Downton Abbey. She's been doing things since forever. Maggie Smith was 89 when she passed. And they did say, again, no cause of death was absolutely given, but part of her announcement was that they did make it known that she did pass in the hospital, and she was surrounded by family when she went. So there was at least that for her. Again, not much for Chris Christopherson, but Maggie Smith, another nerd icon, has passed away. So we're going to take a moment and remember Professor McGonagall.
Wicked. How on earth are we going to do that?
Why don't you confer with Mr. Finnegan? As I recall, he has a particular proclivity for pyrotechnics.
I can bring it down.
That's the spirit. Now, where you go?
You do realise, of course, we can't keep up you-know-who indefinitely.
That doesn't mean we can't delay him. And his name is Voldemort. Phileas, you might as well use it.
Oh, and then there is one piece of news that is not a total bummer. It's actually kind of cool, really cool. So let's bring things up for the last piece of regular-ass news, and that is that Daniel Day-Lewis has come out of retirement. He has been seen on the set of the movie Anemone. Right? Is that, yeah, an enemy, sorry. I live in an anemone. Yeah, so Daniel Day-Lewis is on the set of An Enemy, and the reason he's doing this movie, the reason he has come out of retirement is because his son is directing. This is his directorial debut. His son's name is Ronan Day-Lewis. And yeah, this is his first movie that he's directing. So Daniel Day said, okay, let's do this. So yeah, big news, but that's kind of all we got. I didn't really find anything to do with what exactly An Enemy is. So we'll keep tabs, but that's what we got for regular ass news this week in movies. Let's get to our suggestion this week. Our suggestion is an anthology movie. I don't know that we've suggested this for Halloween in years previous, but Trick or Treat is your suggestion. This underrated gem masterfully intertwines multiple chilling stories, each revolving around the dark and twisted traditions of the holiday. It strikes a balance between creepy and fun, if not funny, with a blend of suspense, eerie atmosphere, dark humor, all while capturing the nostalgic spirit of Halloween night. From vengeful spirits to the mysterious and iconic Sam. Yes, a modern horror icon was born with Trick or Treat. The film delivers clever twists and unsettling thrills without relying on cheap jump scares. There is one jump scare in the whole movie that I can recall, and I just watched it like 2 nights ago. So yes, by all means, it does the atmosphere thing very, very well without over-reliance like most modern horror on jump scares, which is real nice. It is the ultimate celebration of Halloween's macabre magic, perfect for anyone craving fun and frightful night. Yes, this movie, these, what is it, 5 stories I think it is, are very cleverly intertwined. There's a couple of moments where it's like, all right, suspension of disbelief is getting stretched a little bit thin, but it is a fun movie all around. So that is your suggestion this week, Trick or Treat. Check it out. It is streaming currently on Max. So if you don't have Max, you're gonna have to find other ways to get your nerdy hands on it. But if you do have Max, there you go. That's your suggestion for the week.
Maybe.
And then rounding things out for the episode is the Rumor Mill. This week's Rumor Mill is the beginning of the crazy, as usually happens towards the end of the year, which is why we switch over to the live shows after October. But there is word of a Bane and Deathstroke movie. Yes, that is correct. We also have a couple of Secret Wars rumors that I've been anticipating for some time at this point, and a new rumor for a casting piece for the new Masters of the Universe movie that is a little bonkers, and we're going to get to that. There's a whole lot going on in Rumor Mill, though, so without any further ado. All right, so confirmations, refutations. We got a confirmation to get out of the way. First up, Green Lantern. Kyle Chandler is, in fact, cast as Hal Jordan for the Lanterns series. So that was confirmed. Honestly, I think that was confirmed like the day I went to film, and I had already filmed, so there was no way to, you gotta do it after the fact. So yeah, confirmation, we got that in the reference. There is no new sources for old rumors. We just have a boatload of new rumors. So let's get to them. First up is one of the ones that I'm potentially the most excited about. And this actually comes from a couple of fantastic sources, so there's every reason to believe this is going to happen. But Bane versus Deathstroke is apparently rumored to be a thing. At the very least, it is in the pre-production stages of development. So as far as the rumor goes, they did not specify if a script has been greenlit, but they did say that it is in development by DC Studios. Whether or not it is going to be part of the DCU is in question. So there's a little bit of vagary going on here, and usually that lends towards the rumor being true because they can't confirm certain elements of it that very possibly could come to fruition. So the said to be in development from Matthew Orton, who was a writer on Moon Knight and was a writer for the Captain America Brave New World movie, and is very potentially going to be giving us Bautista Bane. And that's not necessarily part of the leak or whatever you want to call this. That's just me kind of throwing my own speculation in because Bautista has wanted to play Bane for many years at this point. And honestly, he'd probably be a really cool choice for the role. But yeah, the one name that is kind of being thrown around for Deathstroke is Joe Manganiello, because he is friends with James Gunn. So if it's going to be James Gunn's DC Studios, and Manganiello was previously Deathstroke, and the fan base really liked him as Deathstroke, even though it was only briefly, there's every reason to believe that if this happens, Manganiello is going to be the guy they go to play Deathstroke, and that's going to be pretty freaking badass. So likelihood that this is going to happen. Like I said, this comes from a couple of really strong, this is actually quote unquote confirmed through a couple of really strong rumor mongers. I initially got this though from a fairly weak rumor monger who was probably quoting the other guys. So that kind of does a little bit of damage to it just because, I mean, nobody has a perfect record. And I'm playing this one slightly conservative because I really am excited for it to happen. I really want these two to have their own movie together. I would prefer it to be part of the DCU, but that's irrelevant. So we're going to say about 75% that we will be seeing a Bane versus or Bane and Deathstroke. It doesn't specifically say they're going to be fighting one another, but like you could do when Bane takes over Gotham. Like that could be the story where Bane becomes Batman. Like that was the part of the Forever Evil arc, if I remember, like towards the end of the Forever Evil stuff, if I remember correctly. Either way, it was a really cool read. I really dug that one. He wasn't going up against Deathstroke. I think it was, if I'm remembering correctly, he went up against Joker, but still you could replace Joker and make the story potentially more effective in the theatrical release if it is Deathstroke. So yeah, really, really cool potential there. Let's move on though. We have more Blade rumors. This one is a new rumor that is potentially meaning that the movie is starting to make more forward motion finally. This is actually kind of two rumors in one, but we now have a rumor saying that James Samuel is going to be the director and that Kevin Feige has finally approved a script from writer Eric Pearson. Very recently, it was rumored that Jordan Peele was going to be directing Blade, and that has been shot down. It's not going to be Jordan Peele. It is very likely going to be James Samuel. This comes from one of the trades, not both. I believe it was a Hollywood Reporter, not Variety. I could have those backwards though. But one of the trades is reporting that this is a thing. And then we have, a couple of really big rumor mongers saying that, yeah, they've heard the same thing. So the fact that it's in the trade, being singular, means we can't go as high as I would like, but it is in a trade, so we're going to go pretty high. 80% that Blade is making forward motion properly. We will know soon if this is the case though, so we will be able to confirm or deny probably within the next 6 months if that's the situation. Next up, we have more Green Lantern stuff. This one is more to do with Jon Stewart. We have two new potential casting rumors. Aaron Pierre and Stephen James both are being rumored to be eyeing the spot of Jon Stewart. Pierre, you will recognize because he was in Rebel Ridge very recently. He's going to be doing the voice for young Mufasa in the Mufasa movie that's coming out soon. And in the Krypton series on Sci-Fi, he played Dev M. As far as Stephen James, he really doesn't have anything on his acting sheet as far as nerd cred goes. Pretty much the only projects he's been involved in have been social political projects and very, very politically charged stuff. So I feel like he's the less likely of the two. This one is in a lot of places, but not a lot of very reliable places. So we're going to say, and this is kind of just because this is our third casting rumor for the spot of Jon Stewart. So we're going to say about 50% likely. that one of these two guys is going to be playing. If I had to choose between them, I would absolutely go with Aaron Pierre, because that seems the most credible in the role, because he already has experience in the nerd world. Like, that just makes a lot more sense to me, but I don't know, we'll see. 50% for Green Lantern. Next up, we have a Superman rumor. Reportedly, James Gunn's new movie has cast Alan Tudyk in a mysterious role. Now, that's not exactly the rumor. The rumor goes on to say that this mysterious role very likely is the role of Brainiac. Ho ho ho, Alan Tudyk as Brainiac. The big monkey wrench in this one is that Alan Tudyk is already part of the DCU. He has been cast to voice Dr. Phosphorus in Creature Commandos. So, while I don't doubt that he will be in live action to some degree in the Superman movie, and very potentially not as Dr. Phosphorus, though James Gunn has said if they were cast as the voice for the animated version of the character, then they will be cast as the live action version of the character. So he will be Dr. Phosphorus on screen to some degree, but so it very possibly could see Dr. Phosphorus in the Superman movie. I don't think that's going to be. I think he's going to have just a real quick cameo, but that's speculation, so we'll get to that. But yeah, there is very little evidence to suggest that he's going to be playing Brainiac. So we're going to say about 30% likely for the Brainiac side of this. Like I said, it is fairly likely that he will have some sort of cameo otherwise. From there, let's get into Spider-Man 4. This is a really interesting one because it's playing with words, and I like to play with words. So, there has been a casting announcement for the new Spider-Man 4 movie saying that they are searching for a new female lead actress, which has led to speculation and led to this rumor saying that Zendaya is no longer going to be playing MJ in the Spider-Man movies opposite Tom Holland, whom I'm pretty sure she's dating. Or is it Timothée Chalamet? I forget which. But yeah, the rumor says that Zendaya is out and they're replacing her for Spider-Man 4. But it should be noted that this same source, the same leak, says that they are also looking for a new male lead. Very specifically, they use those two words, male lead, to be the villain opposite Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So what that says to me, and that's speculation, so we'll get there, but 25% likely that Zendaya is no longer going to be in the Spider-Man movies. I just don't see that as a real possibility at all. There is a sliver of a possibility, but not a big one. So yeah, 25% there. Let's move over to Mandalorian and Grogu. This one I didn't quite realize was not certain at this point, but the rumor says that the movie Mandalorian and Grogu is going to be the final chapter of the quote-unquote Mandoverse. So the Mandalorian franchise, the series, seasons rather, 1, 2, and 3, is going to culminate in the movie. I thought that was already made known. I didn't realize that that wasn't set in stone yet. So the rumor says that that's the thing. It does go on to say that it's not the last we're going to be seeing of those two characters. We're just not going to get any more of the Mandalorian series after the movie. They're going to appear in other projects, just not in, there's no more Mandalorian series. So again, didn't realize this wasn't a thing. So we're going to say about 85%, because if it does super well, which assuming Kathleen Kennedy is not involved in it at all, then it very likely will do incredibly well. If it does super well, I feel like they very likely will leave the possibility of continuing the franchise, or continuing the series rather, open. That possibility will remain on the table. But the current plan absolutely makes sense that they're culminating, they're finishing that story with the movie. So yeah, 85% likely we will be ending the Mandalorian story specific with the movie. From there, we got some gaming stuff going on. This one, again, I thought was already announced, but went back and looked and nope, no official announcement yet. So Final Fantasy 16 is now being rumored to be releasing on the Xbox in 2025. Normally, that kind of specificity, saying exactly, well, almost exactly when the game is going to release, would count against it. But we did just recently have the pixel remasters for the Final Fantasy series released on the Xbox console. So it stands to reason that they're just going to continue this. We have heard that the production company that does Final Fantasy. I'm brain farting on their name right now because I'm not a Final Fantasy player, but they have made it known that they're going to be broadening their audience, and in so doing, they're going to be releasing their games on other platforms. And the only other viable platform right now is Xbox. So again, all of this stands to reason. There's no reason to predict otherwise. We're going to say 90% likely that we will see Final Fantasy 16 on the Xbox console in the year 2025. From there, let's get to Secret Wars. Here we go. We're into the two big ones. Secret Wars has two rumors we got to talk about. First up, and both of these rumors, I should make it known, I have speculated on this show at least once for both of these rumors. I know the second rumor, I've speculated about this a number of times, and I've honestly questioned why they haven't made this decision yet a number of times. So the first rumor is that we have Evan Peters apparently in discussions to play Quicksilver specifically for the Secret Wars movie. And I mean, the way they're moving into Secret Wars and Doomsday technically, but the way they're moving into Secret Wars as the culmination of all of the things up until this point, again, this only stands to reason. They're trying to get as many cameos, do as much fan service as possible. There is absolutely every reason to think this is going to happen. The only reason I didn't go higher than 80%, because we're saying 80% likely for Evan Peters to be Quicksilver in Secret Wars. The only reason I didn't go higher is because Evan Peters could say no. So, I mean, they want him. I'm sure he wants to, but as long as they meet his the things he wants out of the contract. So the other Secret Wars rumor here is recasting for Secret Wars. The rumor is that they are going to be recasting main characters from previous movies and using those actors for those characters moving forward past Secret Wars. Specifically, they're saying Iron Man, Steve Rogers, Captain America, and Black Widow. Those three main characters are reportedly getting recast because it's a multiversal story. Presumably, it's going to be the collapse of the multiverse into the sacred timeline, and then we only have the one timeline, and we can ditch all the multiverse nonsense. But assuming that's the case, then that's also, the rumor goes on to say that this is going to be a soft reboot for the MCU as a whole. So recasting those main characters and soft reboot, all of this is leading down good paths. Again, I have questioned why they didn't do this when they killed off, instead of killing off their characters, instead of killing off Iron Man, instead of making Steve Rogers an old man who can't do anything. And I don't remember what exactly they did to Black Widow because I didn't watch the movie, but like, there's no reason. You get a different artist's interpretation every so often of that character in the comic books, which is the source material. So the logical extension of that into live action is that a different actor is just a different look from a new artist. So there's no reason why they couldn't have done this sooner. I'm sure, whatever, we're not going to get into the psychology, but this rumor for Secret Wars, we're also going to be saying 80% likely because the whole collapsing into the sacred timeline is still rumor itself. So there's no reason to think that, or there's no reason to believe 100% that is going to be the story. It's just very likely going to be the story. So again, from there, let's move. We're going to stay in the MCU. We have Agatha all along. There are possible spoilers for this show moving forward. So if you care about spoilers for Agatha, which so far it's the least watched MCU show ever, so probably not a lot of people out there care about spoilers, but possible spoilers in case you were going to watch it sometime. I will try and put a timestamp on the screen, yeah, just in case. We have possible spoilers. Aubrey Plaza's character in Agatha is rumored to be revealed by the end of this first season as Lady Death, which has huge implications with Thanos, because Thanos, the whole reason Thanos does what he does in the comic books is because he's trying to court Lady Death. So if Aubrey Plaza is Lady Death, we have a Lady Death in the MCU, then that could lead back to Thanos. But also there's rumor here, and they're tied very closely together, that Billy in the show is an alternate version of Wiccan is going to be revealed by the end. That one I think might be a little bit obvious, but I don't know, that's just me. So the likelihood for these two, that we have 70% likely on the Lady Death thing, just because At this point with the MCU series it kind of like they're throwing what they got at the wall and seeing what sticks, right? There's no way to. But then we're also going to say 70% for the Wiccan thing because that same reason. They're just like throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. They're not paying attention to what the audience wants necessarily, though this could be a sign that that's changing because both of these are things that have been predicted by the core audience for some time. That's what we got on that one. Let's move next into, oh God, this one is also really weird. Staying in the MCU, Apocalypse, you know, the first mutant, if you will. We have rumor that The Rock is being courted to play Apocalypse. Oh, I really hope not. The rumor says, and it comes from a fairly weak source, so there's no reason to really buy into this much, but the rumor says that The Rock has a first option contract, or however that works, whatever the vocabulary is there, I always get it wrong, but basically that he's if he has an idea, if he has something that he's going to be making into a project, then Disney has the first option for it. He has that contract with Disney. Supposedly. I know he has that contract, and I honestly, because I found this one fairly late in the game, I didn't have the time to verify where that contract is. I don't remember it being with Disney, so I really don't think it is with Disney, because otherwise this would make a little bit more sense in my brain, because I might not be able to recall the information offhand, but I do retain the information. It's a weird place between my ears, but yeah, this seems really out of the blue. I think that the rumor monger who's trying to peddle this one is really not got their facts straight. He does have a first option contract with a production studio. I don't think it's Disney. So if I'm wrong, please correct me. But because of that, and because it's The Rock, like, I mean, his ego would want him to play Apocalypse, sure, but I don't know that anyone else would want him to play Apocalypse. We're going to say 20% likely that they're courting The Rock to play Apocalypse. Also, his contract, even if it was with Disney, this wouldn't have been his idea. So that contract would not be in play for this project. Like, that just doesn't line up. That's not how that works. So let's get to our final rumor for this episode, and then we'll touch on some speculation. Final rumor for the episode is Masters of the Universe. We have Jared Leto has reportedly been offered, according to the rumor, has been offered the role of Skeletor, the big bad in the Masters of the Universe universe. So this would go alongside the announcement of Alison Brie being cast as Evil Lyn from a couple weeks ago. I mean, I've heard I think this one was also in the Hollywood Reporter. So it's the trades, man. 80% likely that this is a thing going forward. We will see Jared Leto cast as Skeletor. Oh, it's weird to say, but that's what we got for the rumors. Let's get into the speculation. So, a speculation is, again, I'm going to reiterate, Alan Tudyk in the Superman movie is going to have a cameo as another character. It is not going to be Brainiac, because Brainiac is too major. They're going to have somebody. Which now brings us into housekeeping. This week, housekeeping. I don't think we have a couple of weeks left. We have approximately 4 weeks. So 4 more proper episodes before we take a break and then come back for the live format during the off season while I prepare for season 6 or whatever season we're going into. I think it's season 6. As far as stuff in the immediate, I don't know that there is anything really for housekeeping. I actually finally got the August shout out show up and just in time to do the September shout out show. So hopefully I will get the September shout out show done in the next week or so, because there's a lot of shout outs to do on the September show. And aside from that, thank you very much, nerds, for sticking around. That's where we're going to call this a show. We will see you in the next one. Before we go, if you're falling behind on your nerd news, then you can click or tap one of the boxes showing up to the side of my face right now if you're on the YouTubes. If you're not on the YouTubes, you're on the Rumble. Thank you very much for watching on Rumble. If you're listening on one of the audio outlets, I appreciate that just as much. Thank you so much, nerds. We will see you next time. Before we go, though, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.